Welcome to the Pretty Sister Podcast. I'm your host, Callie Stoyer, and you're a good friend, and I am so happy to be here with you today as we are going to continue the conversation about my new Think Pretty book that I'm so excited about and want to share, give you all a glimpse into it and kind of a preview of what it's all about because it actually hasn't launched yet. So you are on the insider track. Today is all about chapter 3, which is titled, You Were Made for This. And the contents of this chapter is to help you understand that everything that you are here in this life to accomplish and to do was perfectly designed for you, and you have what it takes to do it. Trust me, you do. And I know, like me, it's not always our tendency to believe that, to think that we have everything it takes, but you do, and we're going to talk about this. When I was in college, I studied abroad in Israel for a few months at what's called the Jerusalem Center, and it's a campus for Brigham Young University. And it was an amazing experience with so many fun things I could talk about, but I'm just going to tell you this one part of it. When we first got there, we were being told some of the rules of how to interact and living in the Middle East for our safety and for just the protection of the campus. And one of the stories that was told to us was that years earlier, when they were getting the permissions to build the campus, that one of the requirements is that the students that would be coming there would not be allowed to proselytize. And they needed to agree that that would be something that would be upheld. In that process, though, somebody said, but what will you do about the light that's in their eyes? And I love that story because, sure, you can stop them from speaking, but there was this recognition that there's a light in everybody's eyes that speaks to who they are and speaks their truth. And what are you going to do about that? Well, of course, we can't diminish the light in our eyes. And I love that because it really helped me at that time in my life understand that I had this inner brightness. And it gave me confidence and some more courage and also a curiosity, again, to understand what that was and to cultivate it. Holding that thought in place for you, you also have a light within you that is beautiful, that you can't diminish, but we do diminish it. And it's one of our life's work and purpose to allow ourselves to shine forth and to allow us to shine brightly and to figure out what that exactly means for each individual, because it is different. When we focus on other people instead of ourselves, those natural insecurities that we have will tend to diminish, because there's this little thing where we think everybody's looking at us and worrying about us, but that's not true. People are more worried about themselves. And we can shift our focus on how we can help people, how we can serve people. And in the process of doing that, then we forget about our own selves. And it helps us to get out of our head and then lean into our strengths, lean into our natural abilities that will help us to discover more of this inner light that we have inside of us. As women, we tend to have a fear of standing out and not wanting to outshine others. But instead of dimming our lights, we need to recognize that we can lift others up if we will just show up as more of who we are and lean into our strengths. Then we're going to help people, and that's going to create a ripple effect of positivity, which don't we want to create? I mean, don't we want to influence our neighbors, our community, our friends, and impact them for good? And you have what it takes to do this. And that's, again, what this is all about, is that you were made for this. You were made for something special. And it's just a matter of figuring it out and not putting the brakes on as you're moving forward and doing that. By embracing our own brilliance, we inspire others to step into their full capacity. Don't you want to do that? Don't we want not only ourselves to shine brighter, but the other people that are around us? Think about that in the context of your circle of influence. Your partner, your children. Don't you want them to step into their brilliance. And if you want them to do that, then you have to first step into yours. You have to really understand how you can shine more brightly and how you can let your light out there. We had some symbols that represented what Pretty Sisters means so that we wouldn't forget our brilliance. So we talked about the crown. It's a reminder that we are daughters of God and have a divine worth. We also created some jewelry, bracelets and necklaces that had some particular features that were also designed very symbolically to help, again, us remember who we are. First, there was a little pearl that dangles from a chain, and that represents how our struggles shape us into something beautiful, just like a pearl forms under pressure. You know, a pearl, it's created from a little grit that is trying to be kicked out. And in the process of that imperfection, the pearl forms around it. So it's definitely a symbol of that, the struggle, the things that come into our life that we want to get rid of and we want to work through. But as we work on that, we're actually creating something beautiful as we perfect ourselves. And so we don't want to forget the struggle. We don't want to shirk the struggle. We want to embrace the struggle and recognize that as something that is making us more beautiful. The rose quartz, a little piece of rose quartz, that symbolizes love and strength and our ability to embrace who we are. As Pretty Sisters, we are all about love, loving ourselves and loving other people, loving our fellow Pretty Sisters. And again, these things, these attributes, as we cultivate them and develop them, it becomes contagious. The more we put forth love, then we're going to receive it back and it's going to spread. So we want to be a part of spreading that positivity. And the strength of the rose quartz, and also they're raw cut, and so they have different shapes and different features to it. None of us are the same. We all have our own gifts. We all have our own talents. And so that rough cut rose quartz represents the uniqueness of each and every Pretty Sister. We also had a dream circle. So it's a silver circle that had dream written on it that represents the power of our dreams. And the circle represents the eternal nature of the Pretty Sister bond. So these symbols, I love them. Aren't they beautiful? They're so beautiful. And they just serve as reminders to stay confident, to stay true to ourselves, stay true to our purpose, and remember our potential. Symbols are very powerful. And the more we can use them in our life, we can have the assistance of them to bring these things to our forefront. Because again, as I said, there's all of these different ways that kind of the natural man or woman inside of us will be negative. We'll have the negative self-talk. We'll have fear. We're constantly in this battle between silencing our fears and then having positivity and moving forward in faith. You know, later we're going to get into some more tools of how we can get out of our heads and more into our hearts so that we can be tackling that. But these symbols and wearing them as jewelry is really powerful and wonderful because it's just that quick reminder that just, oh yeah, that's right. I have this sisterhood of support and I have all of these qualities and attributes that make me divine, that make me strong, that make me powerful, that remind me to love. Part of really understanding that you were made for this is not just recognizing the skills and the talents, the abilities that we have, but we've got to use them and we've got to cultivate them. And that sometimes takes stepping out of our comfort zone to do so, because it's really easy to stay complacent. It's really easy to just follow the status quo and not stretch and do what feels comfortable, do the routines, the patterns that we've established in our life that will keep us in one space. But if we want to grow and if we want to change and if we want to become more, if we want to shine brightly, have that inner light shine brightly, we have to grow and we have to develop and we have to learn. And it takes that stepping out of our comfort zone. But remember, you can do that by knowing you were made for this. So anything you're going to try and do, you've got what it takes to do it. I was in my mid-30s probably, and I had all of my children, and I wanted to do a triathlon. I had some friends that were doing it, and I was invited to participate in a triathlon. Actually, my sister-in-law Dana had been doing them, and it looked really fun and exciting. And I knew it would stretch me because I had just had I can't remember exactly how old Bella was, but I had these 5 little kids, and I wanted to get back in shape. I wanted to reclaim my body. I was done having children. Felt like, okay, this is a time and season that I really want to see what I can do. So I began training for a triathlon. Well, I love to be in the water. I've said that before. I loved boating. I have, been doing water sports always. But funny thing to admit, I really realized after getting in the pool and trying to swim that I didn't really actually know how to swim. I mean, I knew how to stay above water and float, and I could get myself from point A to point B, but it wasn't pretty. It was not pretty at all. I just didn't have the stroke and the pattern and the breathing down, and it was a mess. And I felt like I was just sinking to the bottom and couldn't breathe through my nose correctly. And I felt like I couldn't do the swim. I was like, I can do the bike, I can do the run, but this swim, I can't do this. And I was at the point of giving up. But we can do hard things, right? And I wanted to grow, and I wanted to learn, and I wanted to challenge myself. So I had to take swimming lessons at the age of 30 something. The swim coach, I always had this bright pink nail polish, and she called me Pretty Fingers because she would just be coaching and calling out my pink fingers coming up out of the water. And I had this really best, wonderful, pretty sister friend that was doing the triathlon with me. And she would run with me and bike and swim together. That time, I couldn't have done it without her because she was helping me and coaching me and cheering me on, and you can do this. And when I felt like I couldn't, and I felt like I was too tired, or I felt like I can't do this with all these little kids and I don't have the time for it, she would meet me at the training, and we'd go on the runs, and she would say, okay, just run to the next mailbox. And we'd do that. And then she'd say, okay, now make it to the street light post. And then we would do that. And it was so helpful to have a friend cheering me on and doing that with me. And guess what? I got through it. I did that triathlon. I was so excited. I remember on the day of the race, just feeling knots in my stomach, just feeling sick. Like I was so nervous about it. But slowly and surely, I did it. And it felt amazing. It was an amazing accomplishment. And I even went on to do more. And it taught me at a critical time in my life when I did have these 5 little kids and I had given up my body for years. It just felt so good to get it back. And it felt so good to do something hard. And it felt so good to learn something new. And it just helped me remember, yes, I can do this. I have what it takes. And you can too. And that's just one example of the growth that happens when we will get out of our comfort zone and when we will try something new. And so I want you to think about that and think about what skill you want to obtain. As we start to try new things, and as we believe in these principles of being able to accomplish and do what we need to do in life, we got to take care of ourselves. And these are 4 really great practices for you to be able to take care of yourself so that you can be in that physical and mental and spiritual shape to be able to go after your dreams and be able to do things in that repetitive pattern that helps you realize, yep, I'm doing things and I can do things and I can trust myself. One of them, meditation. This will help you find clarity and peace in the present moment. And it's so powerful. Whether you're doing meditations that are helping you with your past, and there's meditations that will help you think about and visualize your future. And then you can also do meditations that are more combined with mindfulness that will help you in the present moment. That's a lot of breath work and tools to help you just be calm. But however you do your meditation, and you can do all combinations, I suggest you combine all of it. I love to do it in the morning to set your day with great intention. It will really help to anchor you. But you can also just work on your breath while you're waiting in line for something. And maybe even just consciously decide to put your phone down and not scroll and instead work on your breath work. Meditation is really great. If you aren't doing it now, I highly recommend that you look into it. And there's so many apps, So many wonderful ways that you can tap into meditation. The next really great self-care practice is journaling. And this is such a great thing to do because it will help you to get out of your head and more into your heart. It will help you if you are dealing with anxiety, because oftentimes it's just, again, it's these thoughts in our head. And the more we can write them down, we can have more awareness around them so that we can then flip and know how to move forward. Once we just get things out of our head, it's often much bigger and scarier in our head than when we get it down on paper, especially because when we get things down on paper, then we can see it and we could then start to pick out like the 1, 2, 3 top priority things to work on and accomplish. And we'll talk a lot more about that in later chapters, but journaling is great. Another thing that it is wonderful for is it helps you to separate, whether you're writing it down or just in this awareness that will come, fact from fiction, because we can create these stories in our head that just are not true. And we want to separate the fact from the fiction because you don't want to believe all the stories in your head. They just aren't true. So anything you can do to help get that truth out and to help you quiet those fears and drop more into your heart is going to help you so much. And journaling is such a great way to do it. The next one is pampering. Pamper yourself. I want you to do things that make you feel good. I want you to think about that. Oftentimes, we're so busy caring for others that we don't even remember or know what it is that we love because we're so involved with caretaking and or working in our jobs that we just don't have time. But I want to give you permission. Please know that you need to take care of yourself, and pampering yourself is such a great way to do that, whether that is going to get a massage or getting your nails done or go shopping or take a nap if you need to, or dance in your kitchen or go skiing. I love to go skiing. Play, have your girlfriends over and play cards. Go out to the movies. Go on a date with your husband once a week. Whatever that looks like for you. Even just turn the music up in your car and listen to music as you're driving. Figure it out, think about it, and pamper yourself. And don't do it just once or twice. Cultivate this and make this a habit that you figure out how you're doing this on a regular basis. Because remember, our happiness is happening in the present time. It's just a lot of present time moments added up that creates our life. And so you want to be aware of that, and you want to make sure that you are cultivating that happiness and taking care of yourself in every moment, in every season. If you're a young mom, you can't wait till the kids are grown. You can't wait till the work's done because the work is never done. You just can't push it off. You've got to find ways to pamper yourself in only the way that you'll know how, and start now. The last one that we're going to talk about today or now is nature. Sunlight in the morning to get our circadian rhythm in sync is so important. So be aware of that, because if you can get out in the sunlight, if you can get the fresh air, if you can go on a walk, whatever it is that you can do to get out in nature, do it. You will be impacted for good. Your body is going to love it. There's so many scientific studies and books about this, how it restores your energy. So make nature your friend and figure out ways to do it. All of the wonderful things that have been created for our joy. And you want to partake of it. You don't want to miss it. You want to make sure you're watching and looking for it and appreciating it, because it's going to help you to be able to be grounded and, again, have that energy restored so that you can show up as your best self, so that you can shine brightly and that you can do what you need to do. Many people think that whatever circumstances they were either born into or wherever they're at one moment is just what it is, that this is kind of the hand I'm dealt, or this is who I am, or this is my personality, or this is the knowledge that I have. And so therefore I'm going to operate based on this information or this knowledge or this place that I'm at in life. But that fixed mindset, and that's what that's called, is so different than a growth mindset, where you realize that you can change, that you can learn. We can learn new things. We can reshape our personalities. We can read. There's so many tools to us, available to us nowadays, especially with the phone in our hands. We have access to so much information. videos, things we can read. We can learn how to do anything by watching a YouTube video or, whatever we want to learn, we can. And that should give you hope and encouragement to know that you really do have so much available to you to be able to do whatever it is you need to do. You just have to have the mindset, the growth mindset, to help you realize that, so that you'll dare to try new things and that you'll be excited about that and that you won't be discouraged. And a big part of being in a Pretty Sisterhood group of people, whether that's the friends that you're cultivating or just the community that we're establishing, is that your friends that you're around are going to help you to be able to grow and to encourage you in that process. Because we can listen to others who might want to hold you back, but the more you stay strong in this knowledge that, no, I can grow, I was made for this, I can learn new things, then you'll move forward. And that's what I want for you, is to be able to move forward. So I love this question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That really unlocks a lot for you. It unlocks goals and dreams that you might have for yourself that you've thought, I've passed that time. It's too late in life. I just don't have the money. And you've put that dream aside. But what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Think about that and journal it out. Because if you apply the growth mindset to that question and realize that I do have what it takes, and if we take the fear of failure out, then you'll start to figure out, well, what do I need? What do I need to learn to be able to do this? And you'll start to move more boldly and realize that you weren't meant to play small, and that you can pursue your dreams, and that you can help and assist and uplift others in the process. Okay, so having a growth mindset is so important. Another key thing is being able to find your voice. For me, this has been a lifelong journey that I'm still on, is just finding my voice. And I think that I'm not alone in this problem of not speaking up sometimes, but it can come in all forms. We all have different ways that we're holding ourselves back. And a lot of times, if you think about it, you can trace it to something that happened in your childhood, typically. Because we have these belief systems, these often limiting beliefs that are holding us back. And if we can think about it and go back and understand what it is, then we can, in our adult perspective that has a lot more information, a lot more experience, we can rewrite the story and we can change our thinking. But for me, I have a grandfather. Well, he's passed. He passed when I was young, but this amazing grandfather that everybody in our family looked up to. He was this Ivy League educated man. He was very successful, very intelligent, very spiritual, and very well respected by everyone, and especially by his family. And I was a young girl, so we all emulated him and held him on this pedestal. Well, he was a man of few words. He really was. And he was that man that when he spoke, he had something very wise to say. It was just like dripping with wisdom. I kind of adopted this idea, this thought that, if I need to say something, it needs to be wise. It needs to be important. It needs to be, like my grandfather. And that was the ideal that I held in my head. And it's taken me a lot of years as I've worked through that to understand, because that was a lot of pressure as a young girl. And growing up, I had this fear of speaking. I really did. I had such a huge fear of speaking, public speaking, and even just speaking up in general, because I thought it had to be perfect. And so I've had to learn to overcome these fears. I've had to learn, where did that come from, and how can I cultivate and really show up in this world if I don't want to speak up? And it's something I've had to work on. I share that with you because I know that you have personal stories similar to mine. And in order to break through, we have to dare to do it. We have to understand where it's coming from, and we have to rewrite that story in our head so that we don't let that hold us back from the things that we're supposed to do. And give ourselves the permission to try and to show up imperfectly and to just try again, and trust that in the process, we're going to learn, we're going to grow, and it's just the way that you become, and that's okay. That's a challenge for you, is figuring out what is holding you back. Is it your thoughts? Is it, what beliefs do you have that you may be cultivated similar to myself that you're not acting on because of those beliefs? Another example I'll give you, or at least this time, this was something that I was so grateful as a younger child to learn this lesson, because not only do we need to speak up, but we need to show up and really see each other. And when I was in junior high school, the teacher was teaching us this lesson that she said, pay attention when you're walking in the halls, because it's a natural tendency for people to look down. And especially if you're approaching somebody and you're going to walk past them, if you are further back, you might catch their eye, but the closer you get, people will look away. They're going to look right, left, down, anywhere, but not look directly at a stranger or another person in their face. And she asked us to observe that and also to try to break that pattern so that we could look at people in the eyes. And I remember really enjoying that lesson and going out in the halls and trying to see, oh, is this true? And I would look at people in the eyes as I was walking past. And sure enough, she was right. Every time somebody would break and look away, it would be awkward not to, or look down and not want to just look at each other in the eyes. But I was determined that I was going to work past this. And so I would smile at people. And if you will dare to smile, then somebody will smile back, and you can make a connection and you can see each other. And I loved that I learned this as a young child, because I would practice this and I would practice smiling, and I felt more connected. After college and working, and I was working in a high-rise building, and I would get in the elevator, and I'm sure you've experienced this too in the elevator. Everybody gets in, everybody stands facing the elevator door, and that's kind of the code of riding an elevator. And oftentimes people are looking down. Well, nowadays we're looking at our phones. And just to kind of challenge, I would sometimes turn a different direction, whether it's sideways or fully flip the other way, and look at somebody, smile, and even make conversation. And it was always a little awkward at first, but very enlightening and very fun to just connect with people. And now I do that in lines that I'm in, and I challenge my kids to do that so that we can see each other, that we can connect, that we can look up and see, who are we sharing this world with? And you never know when a smile that you offer somebody else might brighten their day, might be just what they need, that encouragement from another human being to connect with, to get through. We never know what other people are going through. And most of the time, people are suffering and going through hard challenges, and a little encouragement from a smile or a friendly hello, whatever we can offer to somebody else, is going to make a big difference to other people. So I encourage you to not only speak up, but to look up and pay attention to who we're sharing this world with, and make more connections, because it not only blesses other people's lives, but it will bless your life too. I promise you, it's a wonderful experiment. I'll share this quote from the book, You Were Made for This, to uplift, to connect, and bring light to others. And it's by that looking at each other in the eyes that you can see each other's light, the light that we talked about at the beginning of the chapter of this lesson, that we all have a light within us and a light to shine. And don't you want to shine it? And don't you want to help assist others and discover more of why you have that light and how you can influence others for good by shining it more brightly? So I'm going to just remind you that you already have everything you need to step into your purpose and shine your light. And you want to push past your comfort zone. I want you to embrace self-care, develop a growth mindset, and recognize the power of connection with others. And as you do this, these are the challenges that I'm going to give you. I want you to look up and make eye contact today. Practice it. Just start practicing it and have fun with it. Connect with other people. Say yes to something that stretches you, and maybe write and journal that out, but you want to say yes to something new that's going to challenge you, that's going to grow you, that's going to help you build that trust muscle in yourself that will then reinforce what I'm telling you, that you can do it, because you can. And then I just want you to believe that you were made for this, and take my word for it and practice these things. And as you do so, you're going to cultivate this deep knowledge in yourself, this deep belief in yourself, as I believe in you, that you can do what it is that you need to do in this life, that you were made for this, and you have all the tools, all the resources, everything you need to shine brightly, to make a difference in your life, in the life of your family, your friends, your community, all those that you come in contact with. So you've got this, pretty sisters. Trust me, I promise you've got this. And that sums up the lessons from chapter 3. You were made for this. And I'm so grateful that you're listening, that I applaud you for being here, for learning, for deciding to be part of this pretty sisterhood. It's a wonderful place to be, and I love sharing this time with you. So thank you for being here, and I want to ask you to remember to think pretty and to stay pretty. Until next week, and I'll see you then.